you know he's on top. Million subs, he never gonna flop. Out of Chicago, where the streets don't sleep. Betting on games, making cash real deep. Crystal ball for sports, he knows the lines. He's a sports aficionado, the money he finds. From football to basketball, he's always on point. Predicting winners never disappoints. He's got that hustle, that Chicago vibe. Making moves on the streets, cash on the side. With E, you know it's always a bet. He's the king of the game, never forget.
Hello, welcome to the Etoft21sports Sports Show for June 4th. How is everyone doing? My name is Eric. I'm the man behind Etoft21sports. Absolutely loaded episode for you today. My boy Bryce from the I Need It Sports Pod, he is coming by, and we are going to talk about the NBA Finals, give you a nice little NBA Finals betting preview. And as always, Gino is here. Gino's going to have his horse racing bet of the day. But before I get into all that, I'd like to say thank you to the sponsor of the show, Parlay Play. If you aren't using Parlay Play, go to the App Store, download the Parlay Play app, use promo code NFL Betting Blitz for a nice little deposit bonus. Now let's shift our attention over to Saratoga. Loaded weekend of racing over at Saratoga with the Belmont Stakes actually being hosted there. Let's see what Gino has for his horse racing bet of the day over at Saratoga.
It's a huge weekend of racing. It's the Belmont Festival of Racing at Saratoga. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, big races at Saratoga. Let's talk about Friday and their feature race. It's the Grade 1 Acorn. So these are a lot of the same horses that ran in the Kentucky Oaks, like the winner of the Kentucky Oaks, Torpedo Anna. But what's different about this race, in the Kentucky Oaks, Torpedo Anna was post 4 of 14. Now, she got to be right on the lead, and she did not have to worry about a wide trip. But some of the other horses in that race, they really had no chance because they were hooked so wide. Look at the 2 Power Squeeze drew post 11 that day. You have the 3 Leslie's Rose drew post 13, and the 4, just FYI, drew post 12. They're going to be in post 2, 3, and 4. I think all 3 of these horses have a chance just to run a lot better and maybe to turn the tables on Torpedo Anna if you're playing in multi-exotics. The one I really want to key in on is Leslie's Rose. She kind of has a pattern of races, and I think Eric will appreciate this because one thing that I've learned from Eric through the years, and one thing that I think as gamblers we all have to do, is we have to buy low and sell high. So when a horse or a team or a player is coming off of a really big performance, well, they're going to be undervalued. When they're coming off of kind of a lackluster performance, it's the opposite. That's the case for Leslie's Rose. Look at the Ashland on April the 5th. She wins that day because in the race before that, she was the heavy favorite and she finished 3rd. She was a little disappointing, but she comes back in the Ashland and she wins. Then in the Kentucky Oaks, she's hooked really wide on a sloppy track. She had no chance that day. I like Leslie's Rose to bounce back. If she's anything over 7-2, I'm going to bet her to win. I think Power Squeeze could run really well. Just FYI is probably the horse to beat. But with the outside draw, it just may be a totally different trip for Torpedo Anna. Let's see if we can get Leslie's Rose home. Good luck in the Acorn. This is on Friday. Make sure to get the DRS.
Make sure to give my boy Gino a follow at It's Me Gino B. Now let's welcome the man of the hour, my boy Bryce from the I Need It Sports Pod. Bryce, how you doing today, my man?
Doing good, Eric. Always good to be back on the podcast. What's up, everybody? Man, finally here, NBA Finals, man.
So before I get into all that, I haven't talked to you since your big basketball game in Phoenix, dude.
Man.
For those who don't know, there's a big basketball game. One of Bryce's college roommates, there's a little smack talk going on his last podcast. Bryce had a vacation out there. They played a little basketball. You know, he's got a nice little silky smooth lefty jump shot. Why don't you tell everyone where they can find this game footage and how it turned out? Did you win the game and whatnot?
Oh, yeah. You can find it on YouTube at INISPOD, as you see on the screen under me. I Need a Sports Pod. And, of course, you know I had to take home the dub. Yeah, I don't know why my old college mate was talking like he was on that podcast, because I used to whoop him back in college. Nothing has changed. I give him respect, though, because there's a couple of other partners I have that talk the same amount of smack, but they don't show up to play. He actually showed up and played. So, Tap, if you're watching this, if you see this, shout out to you. And funny enough, it's you bring that up. This weekend, I'm actually supposed to be playing in a 3-on-3 tournament at another one of my friend's jobs. So I'm hoping to get some footage of that. Hopefully, get some good games in. I made some alterations to my mic. That way, the mic'd up should be better quality this time. So stay tuned for that. That should be dropping sometime next week as well, while we watch these finals games. So,
let's make some money. What's up, boys? I hate the Lakers. Silky lefty jumper. I love it. Just like Nick Van Exel. Bobby chimes in, buying low, selling high. Eric needs to trademark that. Sports facts. What's up, boys? Okay, here we go.
I knew it was coming.
Big talking point over the weekend.
Oh man,
There was a foul on Caitlin Clark. For those, I don't want to get any trademark strikes. I've been so good on YouTube, not getting any trademark knocks. Not going to pull it up. Basically, what happened is Cooper from the sky came up, cheap shotted her during an inbound play, and she was knocked down to the ground. Pretty bad foul in my eyes. I'm interested to hear your take. After you give your take, I'll give my 2 cents on it.
yeah, it was a cheap shot for sure. Bad play. I just think both sides, whichever side you're on, Clark's side, Reese's side, I think every side is just being really dramatic right now. We've seen obviously way worse in the NBA. We've seen way worse in every sport. It's competitive drive. I believe that possession, like literally the possession before, they were in the mix up of a box out. Caitlin Clark said something to Kennedy Carter that caught her, and then she was fuming from that point on as she ran back down the court, and then she goes and cheap shots her. Should have been called a flagrant one right there on the court. But the people saying like, oh my God, she got assaulted. They need to change the WNBA game. Like, that's one of the main problems with these. They keep saying these casual fans are new. They're not new casual fans. They're Caitlin Clark fans, and they're only in it to root for Caitlin Clark. But like a lot of people, who were in the WNBA or play in the WNBA currently, like Tarasi tried to tell y'all, she wasn't going to come in to the league and just dominate right away. She's going to get it together eventually. She's got too much skill not to. But she's been getting her tail whooped, as every rookie does, and there's no problem with that. Yeah, they're roughing her up, but I mean, as a basketball fan for myself, I love seeing the competitive spirit between both sides. I love the smack talk. I love the grit all these women are showing. I don't get what's wrong with it. Like, I thought this is what we wanted. Like, for the longest time, it's always been, oh, the WNBA isn't interesting. We're 10 games into the season, and we've got more storylines than the NBA regular season this whole year. Like, It's been fun to watch from my end. But yeah, I just think it was a flagrant one, a cheap shot, but I think Caitlin Clark said something to set her off, and Kennedy Carter already has a history of, I think when she got into the league, she got kicked off the Sparks her first year. Then the next team she went to, she was booted off that team. So she's already short-tempered. Clark probably didn't know that on the scouting report, said something, probably used the wrong word here or there, because I think Caitlin Clark, despite what majority media thinks, I think she can talk some pretty good smack herself in between the lines that nobody really catches. And it set Kennedy Carter off, and then she went and did that. Call flagrant one there on the court. Refs missed that one. Shoot the free throw. Let's lace them back up. Let's keep it going. This is good basketball.
So I have so many issues on this. Issue number 1. Not one of her teammates came to help her up.
That too. Like, that's crazy to me.
That's a big issue with me. Issue number 2. Obviously, should have been a flagrant 1, flagrant 2, whatever. That should have been called immediately. Issue number 3. They're talking to Carter post game. She says, no, Witherspoon chimes in, the coach of the Sky, and goes, next question, move on. We're not going to talk about this. Okay, that's fine, but that's the big part of the game. You should address it. But yet we have last year, when you're up at the podium, we would get 25 minutes of you guys complaining about flying commercial. Now there's actually a news story and you won't talk about it. That upset me. The other issue is I started looking at the records and everything. Do you care to guess how many games the Las Vegas Aces have played?
I think they've only played like 7 or 8 games so far.
6.
Oh, 6, yeah. I don't know who set the schedule up for the
How
Fever.
many
They
games
did them
have
no
the Fever played?
favors.
How many games have the Fever played?
11 games in 20 days.
Like,
That's
what the fuck? You know what I mean? You need practice. I get
yeah.
it. I get it. She brings eyes. I get it. I understand that. But you are running her into the ground right now. And when you have the best team with the most practice time and one of the worst teams with the least amount of practice time, this is what's going to happen. Gino mentioned buying low, selling high. When you look at the Fever schedule, they've played all the top heavy teams. They have a lot of mystic games, a lot of bottom tier teams coming on. Maybe if you can find a book that offers will the Fever make the playoffs, throw a little investment on it because they're eventually going to win. Like as soon as this team wins 2 in a row, I think it's going to start coming together. My other thing was Carter goes, what was her thing? Besides bringing threes, what is she bringing to the league?
Yeah.
Well, dude, you're not flying commercial anymore because of her. You know what I mean? Like, not one teammate. That was huge. That like literally,
Yeah,
that's
not
the
one.
thing. That like literally not one teammate. I mean, do you think people in the locker room like her then?
And that's what I'm trying to figure out because we were talking about this on my pod yesterday. And this actually, we weren't even recording, sadly enough. We just hopped on and we were chopping it up before we started, turned into a whole 40-minute conversation over this. But I was saying, like, I think it kind of might be that Blutter, however you say the Iowa coach name, kind of did Caitlin a disfavor because obviously Caitlin's talented. So everything at Iowa the team was built for her, ran through her, everything. But she could do no wrong in Iowa. She wasn't really disciplined like that. She got everything she wanted, which you get it. She's the star player. Now you get to the WNBA. Yes, you're the number one pick in the draft, but you're not playing with the top 0.01% of women in the world in basketball. You're not going to get all the calls because you're the rookie. You're not going to be able to get away with some of the stuff you're getting away with at Iowa when you're playing teams like Maryland or Nebraska. Like, it's just not going to fly there. And you got to earn your teammates' respect. Now, whether that be, off the court, hanging with them, building chemistry. I know everybody across the league has got to be tired with all these questions the media throws. But one thing that stood out to me is every time, like the first 2 games, I think it was Aaliyah Boston, I think it was game 2, she might have smoked a pretty bad layup that could have tied the game, sent it to overtime or something like that. Immediately, all Caitlin Clark's fans bashing her all across social media. Get up to the podium, Caitlin Clark doesn't help defend her teammate nothing. Doesn't say like, hey, we'll get it next time. Like, my teammate's good. She hasn't come out and defended anybody on her team because everybody likes her. Her team is catching all of the flack since they started so bad because the casual fan doesn't realize like, hey, Caitlin was the number 1 pick for a reason. Last year, the Fever picked Aaliyah Boston. They were picking number 1 last year. Like, the team is not good. So you got to build some team chemistry there. I know one of the first couple games, at one point, Caitlin, a lot of the teammates, they're not used to playing with her. She's throwing some good passes. They're smoking layups. They're not catching it. She's visibly frustrated. She goes over to the bench, and the coach sides is like grabs her side like, hey, you got to you can't show that to the team or, to the general public. Like, I know it's frustrating, obviously, but got to keep your composure. So I don't know what's up with that locker room. It's kind of telling that, they didn't help her because, like, we're not even. I hate the word people are using now, like, oh, they need an enforcer. Like, it's not even the fact they need an enforcer. It's that like no one. Usually, if you get knocked over, at least 2-3 of your teammates come and rush to help you get up. I'm not saying you got to go confront, whoever hit her, but they're not even rushing to go help her up. They're just leaving her laying on the ground. So. Yep. I don't know what it is, but they definitely got to figure something out. And I think, like you said, 11 games in 20 days, the frustration is just built up more and more, and they're not even getting a chance to relax. I think that's part of the reason the last game we saw Caitlin play versus the Liberty on Sunday, she went like 1 for 10 at 3 points. It was really just frustration, it looked like. She was getting some good looks, nothing was falling, and you could see it in her body language. I think this reset, I think they got 9 days off now. I think that'll be good for them. Like you said, they can get 1 to 2 wins under their belt. Think they'll find some momentum, possibly get it going. But yeah, it's going to be a rude awakening for her in the league. I knew that. The casual fan didn't know that, but for me, I'm not surprised at anything that's went on. Like, this is what happens in the WNBA. Like, I say it on my podcast all the time. These girls are literally elite. They play basketball better than men. No matter how many people on Twitter will say, "Oh, these women can't hoop." Like, they'll go in your local gym and give you buckets. It's really not a problem for them. They do this for a living. So,
Matt chimes in. Thoughts on what Angel Reese and the comments she made the other night. For those who don't know, it basically was people are what, like, to sum it up, they don't show the sentence before, which I think it makes it look bad, because she did say there's a lot of good players playing in this league, gave homage to everyone.
yeah.
She did say, like, the rookies are bringing people in and how she's kind of viewed as the bad guy. I mean, basically that sums it up, right?
Yeah.
And, like, people watch because of her too. And my old man has this saying, we are who we are. That's what she is. She talks. When you put a mic in front of her, she talks. She has a very high self-confidence in herself. So what do you expect her to say? Like, I have no issue with what she said. She didn't bash Caitlin Clark. You know what I mean? She just said people are watching because of me too. I have no issue with what she said.
Which is the exact case. Her jersey sold out. I had a friend who was just in Chicago the other week for their game. Was telling me, like, as soon as she checks into the game out there, the whole crowd is going crazy. Of course, all the little kids love her. Like, I think this is where I was saying, like, I think the two sides, and it's just this country at this point, there's no more middle ground, it feels like, anymore. You either got to be extreme one side, extreme the other side. And it's like two things can be true at the same time. Like, obviously, Caitlyn is majority of the new fan viewership in the league. She's bringing a lot of eyeballs. She's got the charter planes. But at the same time, ever since Angel Reese did the "You Can't See Me" all in her face in the national championship game a couple years ago, she's also been garnering attention every time she steps on the court. And then she's got a great media presence. She's always repping her brands. You don't not see Angel Reese now on your screen from either your phone, TV, whatever you want to call it. She's marketed herself pretty well. So when people take offense to that, like, oh, she's nobody's watching her. Like, yes, they are watching her. Yes, she's not getting as many views as Caitlin Clark, but people are still watching her. Do we want the game to grow or not? Like, I don't get it. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think all this competition is good. Like, this is what we should want. This isn't boring basketball. And it's like this whole conversation, this weekend is kind of hijacked. The fact that there's a lot of these women and teams that are hooping. The Connecticut Sun, they just moved to 9-0 tonight, haven't lost. Asia Wilson's looking like she's about to have an MVP season where she's averaging like 28 and 12. Nafisa Collier on Minnesota Lynx is balling out. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, if y'all are watching basketball, this is good hoops you're watching. Like, I don't see a problem.
Oh, my boy Bobby. Guess what team has the most free agent money? Most salary cap money? My Pistons. Will the Pistons make a splash in the free agent market? One would hope. You know, they did bring in Langdon from the Pelicans. He's going to be overseeing the team now. Got rid of Weaver. Weaver's going to go back to scouting, they're saying, which is good because, god damn, he was an awful general manager. And there's rumors that they're going to BI is going to be going there, which are live. I mean, Cade Cunningham, BI, I could get behind that. That could be interesting. I'm not a big Monty Williams guy. I don't know how you feel about Monty Williams. I think they need to make a little adjustment there. But one, I want to backtrack a little bit. You mentioned everything with Angel Reese. Angel Reese got invited to the Met Gala. Like, she was at the Met Gala. That is a big thing. Yeah. And I think people forget that if you want to put Caitlin Clark here, then Angel Reese is like right there, like literally right underneath her, if not on the same level with the popularity. I just don't think people like realize that and everything.
They just want to hate one or the other. And I'm like, we could really just appreciate both, but that's just the way the world and social media has made it now. And like, I said this yesterday too, talking to the guys on my pod, I'm like, for rookies, they're doing what they do best at a good rate. Reese is leading rookies in rebounds and steals. She's always crashed the board. She did that at LSU. Clark is leading rookies in points, assists. She had, I think, set some record for 150 points, 50 assists, 50 rebounds, or whatever. But in terms of the broader WNBA, they're both playing bad right now. But like, we should have known that was coming because they weren't going to come in and be able to dominate like they did in college. Angel Reese needs to work on her post moves. Like she doesn't have any. But I think that's something she can eventually expand on with her game, but it's not there yet. Caitlin Clark, the WNBA scouts for real. That patented step back that she does from the left side of the wing, they're shading that now. So she can't get that shot off as much as she wants to. And she's getting flustered with that. She's having turnovers. Like it is what it is. It's gonna be a learning curve. Like,
see, you need as good. The better you get, you need more moves.
Exactly.
That makes sense. The better you get, you need more moves. Her one move is the dribble to the left, step back. We're here to talk some finals. We have a little bit of a betting preview coming. And you know what? One of the comments from our boy Matt, will Tatum show up in the finals? Last time in the finals against the Warriors, 37% from the floor, only 21.5 points per game, did shoot 45.5% from three. Are we going to see this? I call it the big boy table. That's my term. Are we going to see finally Jason Tatum come out and, ball out and get his seat at the big boy table? Or is he going to be on that second or third table still?
I'm a Tatum fan. I hope he plays good because, the media and Tatum, they're just a bad mix. They'll kill him if he doesn't, and I don't want that for him. But yeah, it's time. They've been knocking on this door for 6-7 years now. I think I saw a graphic the other day on First Things First, like teams that have made 6 conference finals within an 8-year span. All those teams had multiple championships. The Celtics have 0 still. This is their 6th time making it. They advanced to the finals for the 2nd time. Yeah, it feels like they gotta win it. Like there's no other thing. You got the team to do it. You ran through the league all year. You handled business come playoff time, regardless of whether or not people want to say it was the soft road to the finals. They can't choose what happened to the other teams. They just got first place. They took care of business. I'm not gonna blame them for that. Tatum's got to step up. It's his time, and I think it's weird because, like, let's take game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Tatum plays amazing quarters 1 through 3. He's the reason they're whooping up on the Pacers. Pacers make the comeback in the 4th. I think Tatum goes like 2 for 10. He ends up smoking a layup at the end, but then Jaylen Brown comes in, hits that shot to send it to OT, kind of saves him. But then overtime, Tatum takes over again. And it's like, I was talking to Cam. I was like, man, that's one of the weirdest games I've seen because, like, Tatum played really well, but it feels like he played bad because the only thing I can really think about is that 4th quarter where he almost sold him. But Brown hits the shot. They win the game. We don't talk about it. And then he averaged 30, 10, and 6. He didn't get Finals Conference MVP. Now, Jaylen Brown had every argument for him to get it too. But it's just like, man, it feels like he plays good, but at the same time, you just wonder, like, is he ever going to become that alpha or, as you said, get a seat at the big boy table? And it's got to be now or never. So,
let me ask you a question. Game on the line. Who do you want to take in the final shot? Gilgeous-Alexander or Tatum?
I think I'll go with Tatum, but that's a tough one. Only because I've seen Tatum do it more in the playoffs. He's been in the playoffs every year since his career. Now, I will say I was highly impressed by Shea this playoff run because it was his first one and he balled out.
Let me rephrase the question. ball in his hands with the game at the line. So he can drive, pull up a jump shot, drive and kick, anything. Is it still, are you still going with Tatum?
I'll still go Tatum, but something tells me you have a stat that says SGA
No,
is
no,
actually way better in that
No, 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 no,
situation.
no. I just want to get your opinion.
Okay, okay.
I'm just coming with a list of guys right here. All right.
Yeah, I'll take Tatum in that one for now.
And
Tatum still.
Murray,
Kawhi,
Paul George,
Tatum, easy.
Harden.
Oh, that's a tough one. Probably Tatum if it's playoffs. Yeah, I'll take Tatum over Harden.
Luka, LeBron,
Braun,
Curry.
even though he's got that funny stat where he hasn't hit a shot to go up like 50 seconds left in a playoff game, I'll take Curry.
Fox.
I'm going De'Aaron Fox because I've seen that up close and personal. I played against him, so I got to go De'Aaron Fox on that one.
Now this is a tough one. Now keep in mind it's ball in the hand, so he can drive. Giannis.
Tatum.
Ooh. Dame.
Dame time.
Brunson.
I'll go Brunson.
Halliburton.
Tatum.
Embiid.
Tatum.
Maxey. And last one, next year's MVP of the league, my boy, Banchero.
I'll go Tatum for now, but Paolo, I think he's going to be a great player.
Cool. My boy, Cool Kev chimes in. Celtics don't have that guy with the killer instinct to take over games. I think I don't agree. I totally don't disagree with that. I
don't disagree with it. And that's my worry for the Celtics. It's like, because that was the big thing I was saying in the Dallas Minnesota series. Because Cam on my podcast was like, he said the games are going to be close, but I'm going Minnesota in 5. And I was like, you think Dallas, if the games are going to be close with Luka and Kyrie, two of the biggest closers we've seen that we have in the NBA right now, you think they're going to lose all those games if they're close? He's like, yeah, I'm going to go with Minnesota. I was like, okay, Luka and Kyrie. And as we see, when it comes down to the fourth quarter, it's like they go into a different mode. They see one shot go in, and it starts raining from everywhere. And if they start doing that in the fourth quarter, I don't know who's going to match this on the Celtics. Because, like I said, nobody has that instinct. Like, can they do it? Yes. But will they do it? That's the biggest question, because we've seen them come up short in a lot of these situations. And they should have honestly lost 2, maybe 3 of those games to Indiana down the stretch. Indiana just choked bad. So, I don't know.
Now, you mentioned Jaylen Brown before, how he won the Eastern Conference Player of the Year, which is great for me because I had a future on him. So I was very happy for that. Now, last time in the finals, 23.5 points per game, 41.1%, 43.1% from the floor, 34% from 3. Some say he was the Celtics' best player that year in the finals. Just won Eastern Conference Player of the Year. Game on the line, needed a bucket, needed a 3. Tatum was the decoy. The design was for Brown on the opposite side. Is there value on Jaylen Brown, Finals MVP at plus 625?
Oh yeah, that's great value, because I mean, I get it. Since he came in, Tatum has been the guy they think about on the team. It's always been JB. Can him and JB win together? Of course, JB has been in the trade rumors the last couple of years until this offseason. He signs the highest paid contract in the NBA. And I'm like, In the day, people, this man is being paid $300 million to play. He's got to be pretty damn good himself. And it's kind of gone under the radar this year because Celtics did basically just wax everybody. 64 wins on the season, had one of the highest point margins in NBA history. I think Jaylen Brown got snubbed out of an All NBA team. I don't know how he didn't make one of them. You're on the first place team in the league as one
And an
of their
all-star.
top two guys, an All Star. I don't know how he didn't make it, but I think there's great value in that because I would think, as we've seen all these teams do, most teams are going to game plan to shut down Tatum, make the rest of the other Celtics players beat you, and that's what they've been doing. Jaylen Brown can go get a bucket at any time. Now, some of the shots he takes, I think, are kind of dumb shots. I don't know if you play 2K or how many of y'all are familiar with 2K, but we say he has the Hall of Fame difficult shots badge because all he takes is contested jumpers. But hey, he hits them, so more power to him. But he can definitely be a live dog for MVP of the finals.
Now, I found this tweet, or I don't even know if they're called tweets anymore, from Frank Michael Smith about Jaylen Brown. Insanely interesting. Youngest vice president of the NBA Players Association was named an MIT Media Lab Fellow. Youngest person ever to lecture at Harvard. NSA offered an internship in 2021. The following year, he obviously was in the finals. He was teaching robotics sessions at MIT while his agent was, negotiating his contract. He knows Arabic. He knows Spanish. He knows to play the guitar. He knows to play the piano. I mean, Jesus Christ, dude! You want to talk about a talented dude, man? Like,
he's a genius. He's a genius.
That is just insane to me. Jordan barely got 50 million in his heyday, and he dominated the league. Different game, man. Different game, and that was still when the NBA was still kind of going like this. I feel it's kind of peaked, so to speak. But that's still when it's going like this, and still when it's going on as incline, and there wasn't as much money, there wasn't as much TV deals. If Jordan played, Jesus Christ. I mean, he would be
400 million easily.
All that money. Health of Porzingis. That's a big thing.
Yes.
Shams came out, said he's going to play. Porzingis said he's going to play. But here's my question to you. Will he be playing in Game 5? Is he going to be healthy enough to be playing in Game 5? What is your take on Porzingis and his health and everything?
That's what I was wondering. We talked about this yesterday as well. My thought process is, for one, I've watched sports all my life. I've never heard of a soleus injury in your calf. I don't know what that is, but when it first came out, I was like, well, that sounds serious. Then lo and behold, he's out for the rest of the playoffs until now. Granted, they kept winning, so I don't know if they would have lost if they would have tried to force him or rush him back. But I'll pose another question on top of this to you. If he is healthy or playing, he hasn't played basketball since, I believe, like April 29th. So he's a little over a month since playing actual live game minutes. And for his career, Porzingis has never made it out of the first round in the playoffs. So you're about to stick this man into the NBA Finals off of a month break from an injury. We don't know how healthy he really is, and tell him, hey, we need you. Like, let's go out there and hoop. It's one of the biggest gambles ever. And, I mean, I feel like if you're going to play him, I don't think you can start him right off the bat because you've been playing so well with the start. You put Horford back in the starting lineup. That's what got you here. I think you got to start off at least game 1 that way and try to ease Porzingis back, see how capable he is. But I'm worried that he doesn't make it to like a game 5 or something like that, because I just don't think these soft tissue injuries are anything to play with. And even it was probably a little gamesmanship by him, but earlier today they asked him like, "Hey, have you been running with no pain?" And he took like 15 seconds to kind of answer the question and finally just said, "Yeah, I'm running with no pain." It's like, "Are you really?" Cuz I don't know, but that's going to be a big storyline of the series. But obviously, if he can't go, that sucks for the Celtics because that is a key piece they got in the offseason for this exact moment. And now you possibly might not have him. So,
And we've seen it with the Celtics before. Dribble, 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 pull up. Dribble, 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 drive to the rim. The thing that Porzingis does for them is he gives them that post presence. Horford relays in that player, doesn't really do that. He gives them that, hey, let's just throw it down to KP, do it work. We've seen them do a little bit with Holiday, posting up Holiday to kind of fill the ball in down low through there. But Porzingis gives them that. You made a great point. We all know what Luka and Kyrie are going to do when he's out there.
oh yeah, pick
Pick
and
and
roll,
pick and roll, see what he does. Does he do drop? Does he switch? Does he blitz? And kind of see what he has. They're going to be looking to attack him. And I think you're right. I don't think it's going to be smart for them to start them. But is Mazzulla going to start him? You know what I mean? That's kind of like the thing, because you and I think we both agree that Mazzulla is not that good of a coach.
Yeah.
You know, like, so it's a whole different, it's an interesting thing. And go ahead. I'm sorry.
Another point too to think about, because like I said, I maybe shame on me because I haven't looked it up to just find out myself. Like I said, I don't know much about the Solis injury, but the Mavs in the playoffs alone, nobody has double digit alley oops. The Mavs are currently sitting at 54 lobs so far these playoffs. If they're gonna be putting Porzingis in these pick and rolls with Lively and Gafford, and Luka and Kyrie are throwing the ball to the rim, is Kristaps leg going to be able to hold up if he's got to keep jumping to try to deflect something or block it? Because I don't know if that's going to hold up. That's not even worried about running up and down the court. Like they're going to try to abuse that because that's what they've done all playoffs. That's not going to change.
Now, and they need that rim protector because Dallas is going to look to get to the rim. Luka's going to get to the rim. And like Lively's been, you mentioned the pick and roll dunks. Lively's been insane with that.
Didn't miss a shot in the Western Conference.
Porzingis is their rim defender. Horford, look, great career, and look, dude, you're a young pup. You haven't gone through this yet, man. Dude, once you hit 34, man, stuff just starts going down the tubes, dude. You're not explosive. Horford just turned 38, so he's not going to be able to defend the rim like he used to back in the day when he played for the Hawks. So Porzingis, one of the paths that Dallas can pull this off is if Porzingis is a zero factor in this and he can't defend the rim and they're able to get the pick and roll, especially with Irving. Irving's assist props, I think, are going to be a gold mine this series. We need to talk about the matchups, okay? So I'm writing it out right now. So how I look at it is this. Washington, when you look at it, between Tatum and Brown, who is Washington going to guard? I think he's going to guard Tatum. And when you look at Tatum's splits, when Washington has guarded him, how can I word this? He's been good, but not Tatum level.
Yeah.
The shooting percentage goes down. Washington can move with him. He can be physical with him and everything. Okay. So then we got Gafford. Gafford is obviously going to be on Porzingis or Horford. Now we go Irving. Irving will probably be on White. Luka on Holiday. That leaves Jones guarding Jaylen Brown. And Brown historically has been very good when he has a smaller defender guarding them. That's kind of how I'm playing my head off in this. Sorry, how I'm playing this out. If that is Jaylen Brown's path to winning finals MVP, is he's going to have the best matchup out of Brown and Tatum. So if the Celtics do win, if you think the Celtics are going to win, I think playing Brown to win the finals MVP is a great angle. What do you think about these Mavs defensive matchups, or do you think it's going to be something different?
it's gonna have to. I think Jason Kidd's gonna have to throw a lot of different matchups at Boston and constantly switch it up. Sometimes go zone a few spurts throughout the game because across the board, their most talented offensive group for Dallas doesn't match up well with Boston. I think whichever way you try to go, whoever has Kyrie on them, I think they're going to try to go into the post. Drew Holiday, one of the stronger, bigger guards in the league. Like you said in the Indiana series, they started utilizing him in the post since Chris Raps was out. Derek White, another bigger guard, he would probably try to take him down in the post. So I'm thinking they start Luka on Drew and kind of bank on the fact that Drew, even though he's been playing pretty good, he had a pretty good series versus Indiana. Bank on the fact that Drew's playoff numbers aren't the best, and then let Kyrie take Derek White. And then Jones and Washington is just going to have to be a team effort. You're going to have to help out on the drives. But then if it is Porzingis, it doesn't even matter if Porzingis because Horford is throwing up 10 threes a game himself in this Celtics offense. They're just not going to have anybody at the rim. So you're going to have to play solid help defense and get out the shooters and then crash the boards. But it's going to be a matchup problem. But I think on the flip side, it's going to be matchup problems for the Celtics. I don't think they have a person that can stop Luka or Kyrie.
I think the guy that we're going to see in the increased minutes, and I think there's value. We're talking about beforehand, is over-under on points is 3.5. I think we're going to see a lot of Green this series. Because I think defensively, he's a guy that can come in there for Dallas, and we talk about moving pieces. I think Green's overs to start before the books adjust is going to be a great play. I think we're going to see a lot more minutes from him. And I think we could see a little bit more Hardy too, just because these are physical wings that are big, that size-wise match up better with Brown and Tatum.
That's a good point. I think we're going to see a lot of Maxi Kleber too now that he's back. He's got pretty good size, solid defender, and call it what you may, but I feel like one of these games, Kleber will have like 3 or 4 threes out of nowhere, just cause. Yeah. He'll get back into groove. I'm sure this week off has been good for him. He got some minutes last series, got back into action after being out all the playoffs with the shoulder. Sure, he's got some more good rehab in. He'll probably be more prepared to go. I think we'll see a lot of him. Green. I like the switch up of putting Hardy into the lineup and putting Tim Hardaway on the bench as they've gone farther into these playoffs. It's going to be interesting, and I'm excited for the matchup because, like you said, we don't really think Mazzulla is a good coach, but I know Jason Kidd is going to throw tons of things at him, so I want to see how Mazzulla actually kind of makes his own adjustments because the Celtics haven't really had to adjust anything this whole playoff run. Now, if their back ends up against the wall, what changes does he make?
What's going to happen? What is it going to look like when they have to make that adjustment?
Yeah.
Now we have to talk about the nightmare scenario. Kyrie Irving coming into Boston, leading the Mavericks to the title. Now, I'm going to read you this stat. Irving, for his career against Derek White, 2-12 and 0-10 since White has been traded to the Celtics.
That's a crazy stat.
Could we see Kyrie Irving turn it around and be the X factor that leads the Mavericks to a title?
I think he can. I feel like it'd be one of the coolest, not coming of age because he's a grown man, but kind of one of the coolest turnarounds or NBA storylines. It's going to be difficult because it's like, obviously, those Boston fans hate his guts. So it could either be, he thrives in it or his emotions are running high and he has bad games in Boston. It could be one or the other. The thing I think that is going to be funny is, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday too, is we think on our podcast, we think Luka might be one of the best players that thrives on the road, and like literally the smack talk from the fans like fuels him and it helps him kick into another gear. Those fans are going to be heckling Kyrie like crazy. I think that might ignite Luka, and Luka might set it off, and then Kyrie will fill in. I don't think the scariest thing for me, if I'm a Boston fan with Kyrie, is we've seen him in these playoffs. I think it was the OKC series. He averaged like 16 points a game. That series, he was only averaging like 4 or 5 points in the first half. But when that fourth quarter comes, like I was saying earlier, it's like he can just hit a switch and like none of that matters. So you could be playing great basketball against him, shutting him down. If that game is close in the fourth quarter, there's nobody I'm scared of more than Kyrie with the ball in his hands, because his X factor in the fourth quarter is just exponentially higher than anybody else out there.
He is insane. I don't know if I've ever told you this story. I used to go up to Bucks games all the time. And, like beforehand, everyone checks the ball and everything. He went on the Bucks emblem, and for 30 seconds in front of the whole stadium and everybody, he put on one of the most unbelievable dribbling displays I have ever seen in my life, and then just handed the ball to the ref and walked away. It was insanely badass and phenomenal. Look, I took a little bit of Irving. I think I got him at like 35-1 to be Finals MVP, so I'd love to see it. But Luka, like you said, he's just a different breed. And
that's crazy.
I have never related more to a pro athlete. I used to play in college, and my go-to saying was like, I just need my recovery beer. That was always my go-to saying back in the day. And to see that footage of him drinking a beer with his old man, and then Michael Finley coming over and taking the beer out of the hand, I have never related to anything more in my life. Now we're going to talk some bets, guys. These are going to be game bets, could be some series bets. Looks like Bryce and I are going head-to-head with the first bet. We're going to do a double or nothing on the beer bet I lost a couple weeks ago. And Bryce, why don't you tell us what your first bet is, my friend?
Yeah, I got the Mavs plus 6.5, and I know this one, it's a little skeptical because up until last series, the Mavs had lost every game one since Jason Kidd had been their coach in the playoffs. But while rest is a good thing, I think too much rest can be somewhat of a bad thing. The Celtics have been off for a long time. And I know that's good health-wise, but the way they come out and play lackadaisical sometimes, the fact that they're, for whatever reason, not a good home playoff team, I just think that Dallas is going to be able to come in there, keep it close. And if they keep it close in the fourth, I think Dallas had some crazy stat that I've seen in the Western Conference Finals where, like, when it's under 5 minutes and the game is within 5 points, Dallas is the only time they've lost so far is game 4 to Minnesota. That was it. Every other game, they've been closing it out. I just think you can't play with your food with this Dallas team with Luka and Kyrie. And Boston is going to play with their food this first game. And I think Dallas is going to sneak around and catch them because they're going to come out fired up. They just came out with a much tougher series. They've had rest too, but they've only been resting for, it's going to be, I think, 6 days by the time they play on Thursday. Whereas Boston has now been resting for, I want to say, either 9 or 10 days. That's just a long time off from basketball. You got the whole added thing of Porzingis. He's playing now. He hasn't played basketball in a month. He's in finals basketball. He's never played playoff basketball this deep. I just think it's a lot. They're going to need, first game kind of fill him out. I think Dallas will come in ready to play. And the takes on social media will definitely be crazy if Dallas takes game one. It's going to be panic time across social media. So it's like, oh my God, they're a super team and they're already going to lose this series and all this. But I think it's going to be a good series. I just think Dallas covers in game one.
I'm going against you, my friend. I took the Celtics. I got him at -6. Last 18 years, home teams, game one, 15-3 ATS, 83.3%, ROI of 61.7%. You mentioned Jason Kidd. Historically, in game ones for his coaching career, he's only 30% ATS. Teams in the finals on 8 days or rest or more, 75% against the number. And then teams 8 days of rest or more playing a team on 5 days of rest. The team with 8 days of rest is 80% ATS. We talked about Kidd. Kidd is doing better than I thought he was going to do. He outcoached Ty Lue, outcoached Finch. He needs to make an adjustment because when we look at it, they're elite defending the rim, and they just allow people to shoot threes. Clippers didn't make any threes. OKC, best shooting team in the league this year, didn't make any threes. Minnesota didn't make any threes.
Karl Anthony Towns.
Hey, man, hey. One game he made me money. No, actually, 2 games Towns made me money. Celtics shot the most threes per game. They're going to get a lot of open looks. And the shot regression says that the Mavericks are due for a team just to be hitting threes. And I think this is kind of the game where the Mavericks are going to be able to hit threes. I think Kidd is going to look to make some adjustments after that. And I just think the Mavericks are going to have a hard time defending Jaylen Brown just because I think Washington is going to keep Tatum contained. I think they're going to look to attack Jones. And I think we're going to have to give Kidd a game to figure it out. Mazzulla is really good at his system. It's just my system. Boom, 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 boom. And you made a great point. What's going to happen when he has to make an adjustment? We have seen Mazzulla. The series has to make an adjustment. I think it's coming, but I don't think it's going to come until game 3. I'm taking the Mavericks here. Not the Mavericks, excuse me. I'm taking the Celtics here minus the 6.
I'm not mad at it because I think it's either Dallas wins in a pretty decent game or Boston blows them out. I don't think there's really an in-between for this game 1. So I can see it going either way. And I think it's Boston's been bad game 2, technically.
Yeah. I think game two, I'm hammering the Mavericks.
Yeah.
I'm hammering the Mavericks game 2. And one of the bets I was thinking about playing was Celtics game 1, Mavericks series. That's at plus 440. We mentioned it before. I'll mention it now. Green over 3.5 points, you can get it plus money. Like I really think that's one of the best plays right now on the board, just because he's going to be playing a lot more minutes because of what he can do defensively. Next one, and I absolutely love this one. I think this is when we see him kind of establish himself as Tyson Chandler 2.0. Oh, yeah. Tell us why you like D Lively.
Derek Lively, man, he might be obviously Luka, Kyrie doing their thing. Derek Lively might be the MVP of this playoff run the way he has played basketball. He's a rookie. And not to touch too much on his personal life, but he already lost his dad. He lost his mother not too long ago, earlier this year. So the fact that he's even able to do what he's doing is just mind-boggling. The mental capacity to even, withstand all that and still produce in the playoffs. Didn't miss a shot in the Western Conference Finals. Granted, yes, their lobs, everything's at the rim, but he's attacking the board. He's coming in off the bench, giving great minutes. He's averaging 7.2 rebounds a game so far throughout the playoffs. I think he's going to get a little bit more minutes too, because if Porzingis plays, I think Lively is going to have to be out there more. I think Porzingis will get Gafford into some stupid foul trouble because Gafford makes a lot of boneheaded plays. And I think, when Celtics are going to have to, spread out the floor because they love to shoot threes, Lively's going to be crashing the boards, and he's going to get about 8 to 9 rebounds a game, I feel like. So the fact they got it at 7 minus 115, I think that's a pretty good bet. As long as I don't know what the deal is with the neck. I know he got roughed up game 3, missed game 4. Then he came back game 5, got hit again, and I was worried because I literally had a parlay that had Luka points, Kyrie points, and him getting 7 rebounds that was gonna hit. And I was like, if he's knocked out the game, I'm screwed right there. And he comes back, gets the rebounds for me. But if he's healthy and he's playing, think this is a lock. 7 rebounds a game, easy. Kid's got a great motor, and like I said, he's just a rookie. It's amazing that he does look like Tyson Chandler, and then you find out Tyson Chandler's been working with him this whole time. It's like this makes complete sense. This is why he's playing the way he is. It's amazing to see. I'm happy for him, and I know my guy Chris. He's not happy because I think Dallas moved up in the draft to steal him from OKC, or he would have been on the Thunder, and the Thunder were just one big man away, I think, from being real contenders.
But I agree with you. I mean, if they had Lively, Jesus Christ, that would have been a home run pick for them. You mentioned the Mavs, Chandler, and everything. One of the best things that the Mavs did was bring in Chandler. And I really wish more NBA teams would do this. Just bring in these guys and just let them work with your young guys. Just put them in a position to be successful. I look at my Pistons. Rip Hamilton, Rasheed Wallace. I mean, obviously you can't go with Chauncey Billups, but just bring these guys in, special assistant, have them work out with these guys, like teach them the game. My next bet, and I kind of put two of them here together. I bet Drew Holiday to average over 1.7 threes a game. I also put a little bit on him to have 2 threes in each game at plus 850. Thought process is this. Holiday, let's lay out the defense for the Mavs. I really feel that you have to have at least 1.5 guys accounted for Brown and 1.5 guys accounted for Tatum. So at least 2 guys to defend, 3 guys for the Celtics. Obviously, Lively or Gafford is going to be on Porzingis or Horford. So that leaves Luka, Kyrie, Jones, whoever, 1 guy for White or Holiday. And Holiday is kind of morphed into this corner 3-point shooter. So I think because he's going to be hiding in the corner, he's going to get a lot of these open looks when the Celtics drive and kick, pick and roll action. I think this is going to be a great shooting series for Holiday. I think he's going to get a ton of open looks. And with how good White has been, we need to remember White was playing at an all-star level earlier in the season. You're going to do or die with Holiday shooting just because we need to remember he kind of struggled shooting against with the Bucks 2 years ago.
Yep.
Granted, this year he's been completely different. Maybe it's because he doesn't feel that pressure. But I think this is going to be a huge Holiday series. Against the Pacers, 2.5 threes per game. Against the Cavs, average 2 per game. Against the Heat, only 1.4. For the playoffs, he's averaging 1.9 threes per game. Season 2.4. Also, I don't think Pritchard's playable in the series. I think Pritchard's too slow. I think he's going to get too physical. How can I wear this? He's not physical enough to guard Luka, and he's not fast enough to guard Kyrie. So I think Pritchard is unplayable. So I think this is going to lead to more Holiday minutes. 43% from the floor from 3, 40% in the playoffs. I just think with the matchup, I think Holiday is going to be the one left open in the corner. So I'm going to play this. And he could easily hit this. And instead of me playing Holiday over 3 props, if I just play the 2, have at least 2 in a game, plus 850, I like that. Quick question for you. Kind of popped in my head. And I think you were kind of hitting at it earlier. What's going to happen if Brown, Tatum, White, Holiday all have to play 44 minutes or more for multiple games?
They're going to be worn down, and Luka is going to go to work as the series wears on. Because I get it. A lot of NBA players themselves will say Drew Holiday is the best defender, and I mean, they're the guys out there, so I take their word for it. But there's not a man on this planet that can guard Luka Doncic right now. There's not. He's just simply in a different mode. He leads the playoffs in every single stat in the box score: points, assists, rebounds, steals. It's crazy. Kyrie, you can't guard him, but he's smaller, so you can make it harder for him, even though he's one of the most gifted, if not the most gifted scorer in NBA history with his talent. Yeah, the Celtics, they like I said, they can't repeat what they did in that Indiana series where they get up, then they start playing soft, let Indiana creep back in. If you play with your food versus Dallas, they will make you pay. So if they get up, they need to capitalize on being up and don't let them creep back into the game. And they got to play 40 plus minutes all series. And this goes to game 6. Granted, if this series ends up in a game 7, I don't know what it is about Luka and closeout games on the road. We've now seen it with Phoenix. We've seen it just now with Minnesota. When he's on the road in a closeout game, it's like a bloodbath. It's like he just comes out as like, yeah, I'm not losing today. Like that's how I felt watching that first quarter versus Minnesota last week. Is like, oh, whatever Minnesota does, like I know Minnesota is going to have their runs throughout the game. It's like Luka's not going to let them lose this game. That's just his demeanor and how he's playing. 20 points in the first quarter. And in the second quarter, Kyrie follows it up with 15 of his own. The 1-2 punch, I said it on my podcast, and my friend Cam kind of got mad at me. And I'm like, I'm not saying Luka is LeBron, but we literally seen this with LeBron and Kyrie, where it's like when they came back from that 3-1, it was just kind of them. 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, like punch after punch after punch. And you just can't keep up because there's not 2 other guys on the other side of the court that can get buckets that efficiently at that high of a clip. It just can't happen. So they're going to have to hold Luka and Kyrie to under 60 points combined to even really have a chance. If they eclipse 60, it gets very murky in those waters where you're playing close games with them.
And we don't know, because let's face it, there hasn't been this stretch where they have to play those 40-minute games. And if those guys are playing 40 minutes, that means these games are tight. Luka is so physical. How is that going to look? Are these legs just going to go out from the Celtics? That's something too, like, because we haven't seen it. And what is going to happen with Missoula when Missoula has to make an adjustment because shit isn't working? Interesting series. And this bet, I mean, Jesus, dude, if this bet hits, dude, I mean, you're going to have a fun time in Vegas, man.
Oh, yeah.
Exact order of the series. Tell us what it is and your thought process.
Yeah, man. So exact order of the series. Listen, I got Dallas in 6. For those of you that don't know, just to give you a date, April 19th, we held a live podcast for the NBA playing game. Eric ended up coming on the pod, and I had everybody fill out their playoff brackets, predict who's going to the finals, who wins. I went last, and I told him before I put in my playoff bracket, I'm like, listen, when I pull this up on the screen, don't laugh. I'm serious. Hear me out. I told people plus 1250 Dallas versus Boston finals matchup, and I got Dallas winning it because at that time, since the trade deadline, Dallas has literally been the hottest team in the NBA, and you got Luka and Kyrie, 2 of the best closers in a groove. I was like, they can go in the Western Conference. They got favorable matchup. I told y'all round 1, Clippers, a bunch of choke artists over there, knew they would take care of business. Versus OKC. OKC was a great team, but they're just too young, too inexperienced to compete with Luka and Kyrie. And then I thought it was going to be the Nuggets. You got Minnesota coming in there and wiping out the Nuggets, and then they don't know, they don't know how to act because they've never been there before. And Kyrie and Luka just manhandled them. And here they are in the finals, gone through a nice, solid lineup of competition. The Celtics, who haven't played anybody near the level of what the Mavericks are about to bring out there, think they're going to take it in 6. Like I said, I think they can steal game 1, but I do actually, I went with this on the podcast, so this is what I'm sticking with, but I did reverse it where I had the Celtics win game 1 and Mavs and flip it. But this is what I said yesterday. I said, Mavs going to come in, win game 1, Celtics bounce back game 2, Mavs take game 3 at home, Celtics come back, take game 4. Now it's a 3-game series, best of 3. Luka goes into Boston in game 5, drops 50 on them, completely kills their spirits. Game 6 in Dallas, Kyrie puts the knife in their back and ends it. just like that. Poetic justice for, his whole Boston saga. Mavericks in 6, they take home the ring. And then I could say for the podcast, I swept the 2 champion bets this year. I picked my Chiefs when nobody else would pick them. Picked the Mavericks when nobody else had them on the radar. So I can't go away from it now. I know I was on your podcast, I guess, a couple weeks or maybe a month ago when Minnesota was manhandling Denver. I was like, put money on Minnesota, which I did. But at the end of the day, I always had Mavericks from the very jump. And while Minnesota did scare me, I'm gonna stick with my gut here. I just think this is Dallas's time. They're on a magical run, and they got 2 players that just can't be stopped right now, which sucks for the Celtics because, as we know, this is like do or die for them. This how many times are you gonna be this close and not win before all hell just breaks loose on that side?
Luka to score 50+ points in any game, plus 550 on FanDuel. Are you going to take that?
I will take that. Because I think he's going to, like you said, if they can get the wear and tear on the Celtics' legs, he's going to kill them. And all it takes is him to just have a good start. He sees the first couple threes go in. Next thing you know, it could be 50 just like that. He can run off 20 in the quarter easily. We just seen it. So it can get dangerous.
Once you see that shot go in, stuff happens. We saw it with our boy Karl Anthony Towns in Game 4.
Yeah.
We saw it with our boy. Now let's shift our attention to my third and final bet. And this one, I just took Jason Tatum, most threes in the series. He's plus 600. Led the Celtics in made 3-pointers per game, averaged 3.1 makes per game during the regular season, 38% from deep. In the playoff, he's averaging 2.1 made threes, 7.1 attempts per game, shooting 29%. He's due for some positive shooting regression. I've mentioned it before. Mavericks are elite defending the rim. They're going to allow the Celtics to attempt 3-pointers. So, yeah, and when you look at it, the Thunder struggled from deep. Clippers struggled from deep. Wolves struggled from deep. There's going to be a team that makes 3-pointers against the Mavericks. And Celtics attempted the most. Tatum's obviously due for some positive shooting regression. I'll be honest, my bold prediction, there's going to be a game where the Celtics jack up 55 3-pointers.
Oh, yeah.
There's going to be a game in this. I think with the style of defense, I think it matches up good for Tatum. Tatum, most threes in the series, plus 600.
If something ends up happening to Porzingis where Horford's got to play heavy minutes, I think we see a game where Al Horford gets 15 3-point attempts. That's their system. I mean, all power to them. It's been working all year. You live by the 3, you die by the 3. But they've done a lot of living and not a lot of dying to get to this point, and they will let it rain. And that's what kind of scares me the most about picking Dallas. But I think as long as they can weather that storm, Luke and Kyrie, I think they'll be okay. Because the one thing that really scared me for the Celtics is Game 1 versus Indiana, you see Tyrese Halliburton take over and come back. They should have won that game. But then once Halliburton goes out the game, you had Nembhard going off. And TJ McConnell, I'm like, I know it's different matchups, different players, but like if you have Nembhard and TJ McConnell and you're struggling with them, I can only imagine how you fare down the stretch versus Kyrie and Luka.
My counter to that is this. How locked in were they, though? You know what I mean?
True.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, just mentally wise, you're going to be more locked in against Kyrie and Luka compared to Nembhard and TJ somehow I'm playing in the NBA McCollum. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you mentally are just going to be locked in more. But it is a good point. You know, like, if those guys are able to get theirs, Luka and Kyrie should be able to get theirs. And the main thing I want to see is we haven't really seen this team be punched in the face. Yeah. Series tied, you're down in the 4th. How is this team going to react if they're punched in the face? That's what I want to know. And that's what I hope we get to in the series. I want to see what the Celtics are. And my last question I'm going to ask you before we sign off and I let you go. Hypothetically, and let's say what you say happens. Celtics don't win it all here. Do they run it back? What adjustments, if the Celtics don't win it, are they going to make?
Honestly, with the way they built the roster and what they've done to get here, I feel like you have no choice but to run it back in their position. Now, I know I'm a big proponent of saying, definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. But I feel like you would have to run it back. That's why I say it really sucks because we've been saying for years now, like, which one of these young teams or young players going to kind of take the throne? KD, LeBron, Curry have had it for so long. Like, who's going to be the next guy? Giannis, Jokic have each gotten one, but now like the young core guys, Tatum, Luka, and all those guys, they were all in the conference finals. So one of them's got to win now. Tatum has been knocking on that door. I hate it has to be against the Mavericks because I'm rooting for the Mavericks, but I would not be mad at all if the Celtics found a way to win the series just so it would shut up all the talk about Tatum because I think he's a great basketball player. But if they lose, man, it's going to be a dark offseason in Boston. I don't know. I feel like you got to run it back because if you blow it up, what are you going to blow it up and do exactly?
Yeah, like what pieces? I mean, like obviously they don't win. I think Missoula's gone. I mean, you got to get rid of Missoula. This has been 2 years in a row where you probably should have won it. It's an interesting thing. Now, there's another stat I want to drop you off. I want to drop on you. If the Celtics win it,
I think you might be asking. Go ahead, because I was going to ask you a question. I think you might be getting ready to ask me the same one.
If the Celtics win it, no, it's just an interesting head-to-head thing. If the Celtics win it, Tatum will have the worst. I forget the stat. He will be the worst best player to win a title since Dirk Nowitzki won it for the Mavs way back when. Also, I forget the stat. It's something that starts with B that I was reading about. Other thing, no player's team has won the title when the player was number one in usage. Luka's number one in usage this year. So no player's team has won it. But historically speaking, in the finals, the best player's team, they win it. Historically speaking. So that would bode well for your Mavericks take because Luka is the best player in the series. You said you want to hit me with one, man. What is it?
Yeah, I mean, say the Celtics do handle business this series. They win the finals. Do they deserve to be in the discussion as one of the best NBA teams of all time? Because they ran through everybody this season. Whoever you want to say, they had a soft path to the finals. They won 64 games in the regular season. They literally beat everybody. And like I said, they had one of the highest point margins. They ran through the playoffs, only have 2 losses. Depending on how they handled this series, like say they beat Boston, they beat Dallas in 5. And it's like, even though everybody's had these doubts every series with them because they drop a game 2 or they didn't look good versus Indiana, but at the end of the day, they end up going 16-3 in the playoffs after a 64-win series or season. Like, what more can you really say about them?
You can't. And like, you got to give them the credit. Like, it's so hard to compare teams to teams. It's so hard to compare. Obviously, I don't think they're better than the Bulls teams.
Oh, yeah, no.
I don't think they're better than the Warriors teams. I think the reason why this team doesn't get the cred that it used to do, that it should, was just historically Tatum and Brown underperforming. I think once they get, the weight off their back, whatever the saying is.
Monkey off their back.
Yeah. I think then they're going to be a little bit more respected in the league. I think that because Tatum isn't looked at as a top 5 player, the team doesn't get enough street cred either. Brown didn't even make All NBA for some reason, which I totally agree with you is a travesty. He should have been on that team. I think just because those guys are underrated, this team is underrated. But when you look at all the numbers, historically one of the best teams ever. And I think if they do win it, they need to be in the conversation. Bryce, I'd like to thank you for coming on. Anytime you come on, we always go way longer than we both anticipate, and it just flies by. Hour and 15 minutes. Appreciate you. You and your boys from the IDNet Sports Pod. You guys are going to be live during Game 1 of the NBA Finals. Why don't you tell everyone where they can find that, where they can find your guys' preview of the NBA Finals and everything you have going on?
Yeah, so this week, tomorrow morning, we'll be rolling out our conference finals post talk about those two series. And then Thursday morning, we'll be rolling out our finals predictions episode that morning in preparation for going live for game 1. Hopefully, I know you'll have some things, but hopefully we'll get Eric on there towards the end of the pod, maybe middle of the third quarter or something like that. But yeah, you can find us, like I said, at my name, INISPOD on YouTube and Twitter. Add an underscore to the end, and you can get our Instagram. We'll be live on all 3 of those platforms Thursday. And I hope to see some of you guys there. Hope to see you there, Eric. Can't wait. I've been enjoying the WNBA, can't lie, but this week has kind of sucked, not having NBA basketball anymore. It means we're really at the end. But on the same side, we are that much closer to football season too. So I'm excited for that. But this is one of the weirdest times in the sports year where it's like basketball's over, football hasn't started, kind of just in limbo for the next couple months until August kicks in and things ramp up for football season.
This is the downtime, guys, when you have to make the little lady feel special. This is when you have to go over and above, sacrifice, go to wine country, do whatever you have to do, because fall's right around the corner. And when that happens, Sundays are out of the picture. Bryce, I'd like to thank you for coming on. Make sure to give him a follow. I will be on his podcast probably for the fourth quarter. That's my goal to get there by. I have a couple of recordings I have to do. And let's make some money, and we'll talk Thursday, my friend.
See you then.